The last 48 hours in the markets has been the most insane 48 hours I've ever experienced in the crypto markets, in the stock markets, in any market in general, in the last 6 years since I have been investing. Call it whatever it is, but Trump has completely manipulated the markets over the last 48 hours so they can get people to panic sell, and so the billionaires could be the ones to buy it back up. Now, was this done on purpose? Was it not? That is still up for debate. What do you guys think? Would really like to know in the comments down below. Now, in this video, I'm going to go over what has just happened, what the tariff pause means, what the outlook for the market is now looking like, and where the crypto markets is going to head in the next 3 months during the pause and after the pause. Now, let's do a quick recap of what happened over the last 48 hours. Now, we knew that the Trump tariffs were going to get announced, and we knew that there would be some blood in the streets, and there absolutely was, but it was pure panic. A lot of people sold off, stock market dipped massively, Bitcoin capitulated all the way down to $73,000, and we had a lot of people panic selling and calling for a bear market. Now, during this period of time, there was a lot of fear in the market. We were on extreme fear across all markets, and this was a very, very scary situation, and emotions run high, and because of that, people had a lot of fears of a bear market and a recession and ended up selling off. And considering the situation, it is totally normal to feel that way, and a lot of people in our group had the same feelings, but I made sure that our group held tight, because during capitulation periods like this is the time where you should be holding tight and actually buying, and that's exactly what I said in our group. The tariff wars, of course, escalated quite quickly as Trump then added 105% tariffs onto China, and China reciprocated with more tariffs on top. A full-out trade war did begin. But off the back of the original tariffs that Trump put on, he had over 75 countries reach out to him to try and negotiate a new deal. And because of the overwhelming response from the other countries, he decided to put the tariffs on pause for 90 days. And from that point, we then had the stock market rally. S&P over 15%, Dow Jones over 13%, a lot of stocks, Tesla, Apple up 15 to 22%. And the maddest thing about this is that Donald Trump actually tweeted 3 hours before he paused the tariffs that it would be a good time to buy. Now, that is insane to do that. We have been talking about over the last few weeks as to why Trump wants to increase and put these tariffs into place in the first place, and that is because he needs to refinance over $9.2 trillion worth of debt. And one way they can do this is by actually dropping the bond yields, because when the stock market crashes, typically, people go and buy bonds as a safe haven, and therefore reduces the yield, and Trump can refinance the debt at cheaper prices. Now, actually, what ended up happening was the complete opposite. The yields ended up going up. Why did they go up when the stock market crashed? That is because China ended up selling off hundreds of billions of dollars worth of their US treasuries. Now, why did they do that? One of the reasons being that they need to weaken the yen, and that's so they can combat the massive tariffs that the US have put on China. And we see that in the chart that the yuan absolutely collapsed. Now, this is really dangerous, because there's over $60 trillion in yuan deposits, and if the yuan starts weakening, then that could actually collapse the entire economy. And the yields going up for the bonds is not what Trump wants. Now, is this the reason why he backtracked? It might be, it might not. I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments down below. So now that the tariffs are paused, what does this mean for the market in the short to long term? So in the short to medium term, this puts a lot of pressure off of the markets, and there's probably going to be a little bit of a cool down. However, I do see Bitcoin dipping again to retest that 73k zone. We have Bitcoin in a downward trend all the way from January of 2025. It has not broken its trend yet. And despite the fact that the price has gone up off the back of the tariff news, I do see us pulling back into the 73k zone. Another really important indicator is the 50-day EMA on the weekly. It needs to support this. This is very key and very important. It needs to support 73k. It needs to end the week off at 73k for us to start to become more bullish. This is a very key area. If we break 73k, it is way more likely that we end up going into a bear market. This is a last port of call. If we look back to May to July of 2021, in the last bull cycle, its mid-cycle retracement actually ended up touching the 50-day EMA twice before a continuation and that's exactly what I think is going to happen here. It has already touched the EMA once. It needs to close above the 50-day EMA this week. It might come down for a secondary touch, and then as long as we break that downward trending line, which is above around $82,000 at the moment, then we can safely say that Bitcoin is out of the woods for now. And I do think that that is going to happen for a couple of different reasons. Number one, the true inflation data is coming out at 1.34% right now, and it is on a decline. It has been declining for the last couple of months. We've also had the CPI inflation data come out lower than expected again for the second time here, which shows that inflation is slowing down, which is really, really good to see, which means that the Fed is likely going to start to cut rates slowly. I don't think they're going to do it quickly. I think they are going to do it on track for July. Now, in the meantime, there's going to be a lot of trade deals that are going to get renegotiated, and I also think that they are going to get renegotiated in a way that benefits the US and the other countries as well, which means global trade in general is probably going to be a lot better off than it was previously. That is also a good thing. The one thing we do need to be aware of is that China and the US do need to come up with a deal. Once they do, that is also a bullish factor. Not only that, but we've had Donald Trump tweet today about one of the biggest tax cuts happening in history, which they will announce in the next few weeks. And when they do so, that is going to be extremely bullish for the US stock market. And with that, very, very, very bullish for crypto, especially if it has to do with capital gains tax and also income tax cuts. Now, we are seeing a retracement in the markets right now. This could be the final flush down before all of this bullish news and all these bullish catalysts start to come out and start to rally the market again. Now, knowing that we do have that 3-month timeline on the horizon, I don't think we'll see any parabolic moves, but we're definitely going to get ourselves out of the danger territory for now. And the reason why I think it's not going to be parabolic moves is for a few different reasons. Number one, it's April, it's tax season. Number two, Trump still needs to refinance the debt. There's still a huge debt ceiling that needs to be managed. And the other reason is that quantitative easing is probably not going to start until July and until the new tariffs have been renegotiated. So there's a lot hanging on in the balance, and there's still a level of uncertainty. But after July, that uncertainty is going to go away, and whatever the outcome is, even if we have a little flush down because the tariffs get re-put in place, longer term, this is bullish for the markets, and I do think that Q3 and Q4 is still going to be very, very, very good for the crypto markets and for the stock market in general. So that's it for the update on today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want more education on current macro trends, economics and cryptocurrency, make sure you subscribe and let me know your thoughts on this craziness of the last 48 hours in the comments down below. I'll see you guys in the next video.